CBS News.
It's Saturday, baby.
Welcome back to another Ask a DM. Tonight we're going to ask the question of, how do I keep the players focused on the main quest? We're joined with Dylan and Tom. How you guys doing?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Doing all right.
All right.
Can't complain. So, how do you keep your players focused on the main quest?
TPK them every time they get off the main quest.
That's one way.
Yeah.
He's out of line, but he's not wrong.
Yeah. It is a way to do it, yeah. So what I usually like to do is, it depends. First thing you need to do is you need to answer, are we doing XP leveling or are we doing milestone leveling?
That does make a difference, yeah.
That does make a difference. What I would do is if you're using milestone leveling, it's actually really simple. What you do is, as you're outlining your campaign and you're outlining your story, you allocate milestones to the main story, and if you have any left over, you can cut them from the campaign, so you put a level cap, effectively, or you can also add them into side quests, and so you have a little bit of deviation that the party's allowed to go on, and you might have one or two open-ended for if they think of something not to do that you hadn't necessarily outlined.
That's a good idea.
Another good thing to add on to that would be to add a much lesser XP extent to side quests as opposed to main quest achievements when you're doing milestone leveling.
Exactly.
So it's like, you did slay that dragon. Slay that dragon on my list, so okay, on to the next quest.
Well, rather than I see what you're saying. You could invoke some kind of like delinquency or punishment.
Well, not really a punishment, just a lesser reward.
Yeah, a hindrance, a penalty, a
It's
tax,
not
a
as
fee.
worthwhile to do, basically.
Yeah. But what I actually like to do is slightly the opposite, is reward sticking to the main story by just once you uncover certain story information or hit story points, give XP. Just like you would a milestone.
Yeah.
But with that, what you can do is, so this is kind of just like the first topic. To encompass it, I would say outline how you want to reward milestones or XP for your campaign, and also communicate that to your players at session 0 or session -1.
Yeah.
Whenever you decide you want to do it, whether it's the party just coming together and you're a new dungeon master and you're talking to them about how the game's going to flow, let them know. If you're taking over and you're taking the reins from another dungeon master at the table, let them know, like, this is the way I'm going to be doing things. This is the general
No
architecture.
surprises.
Yeah.
Like that.
Lay down the law.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Establish your rule 0.
It's also the social contract from player to DM. Kind
Exactly, yeah. But if you want your players to stick to the story, they have to know that sticking to the story is going to give reward, and not sticking to the story is not really going to be rewarded. That in and of itself usually helps keep players in track. And then the counter argument that I hear from the most from that is usually from a couple. It's mostly from newer individuals to the game.
Yeah.
And they usually say that like that pulls away from the RP element of the game, because they feel like they're just being plot railroaded everywhere.
Oh, yeah, being railroaded. I got you.
Well, and then the counter argument to that is then, no, you can still go and do whatever you want, just be prepared to not level from it, right? So that gets rid of the grinding mechanic. We're not going to go out into the forest and kill boars in order to power level all the way up to 19.
Milestone does help reduce the murder hoboing, but so you're saying take the lesser rewards for doing side quests and trying to get them more directed on the main quest.
I think the way he put it was not to give lesser rewards. That's what I mentioned. Lesser rewards for side quests, but regular reward for side quests, but greater reward for staying on the main plot line.
Yeah, you get better results from honey and not salt kind of mentality.
And me, I think, all jokes aside, the DM hypnotism of the illusion of choice.
Yes.
Where you think you're side questing, you're really going down the exact rabbit hole I wanted you. Because that 3-pronged space right in the middle of the road, well, all 3 places are leading back to
that. It just circles in.
Yeah.
I'm more of a fan of taking any side quest and incorporating into the main storyline. Now,
Yeah.
granted, there's some side questing. It's just not a part of it. Like the old man with the giant rats in the basement isn't the Lich Overlord's part of his plans.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, that's one petty overlord.
And
Yeah.
that's still all from Barovia.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are both things
Were
you
there?
find in Barovia.
That's
a man
true.
with rats in his basement
No,
and a lich cat.
It's also very popular, like first
But,
tutorial mission.
Yeah, but I'm also a big fan of what I like to call
Mhm.
gazebo DMing.
The gazebo.
Yeah, it's like, wait, that's not a monster? It is now. Roll initiative.
Yes.
Which is to just adapt to your players as well.
Okay. So
No.
adapt and not really fight it so much, but more.
Lean into it. Make the side quests become part of your campaign, whether you planned it to or not. It's like, oh, well, you guys are fighting this now? Well, I've got bad news, but this guy is now an underling of my big bad evil guy.
Yeah, that is a way to do it.
Okay.
To add to that,
Mm-hmm.
for our campaign, for the Sword of Air,
Yeah.
what I've done is at session -1, where everybody had their one-on-one with the DM,
I never got my one-on-one.
everybody gets one.
For Bernardo.
Yeah, for Bernardo and Ricardo.
Yeah, but like Bernardo and Ricardo never got to talk to
And
him.
Ulrich Lowe. But go on.
No,
Yeah.
Uruglo got a one-on-one with the DM.
Did
So everybody has, for the most part,
Yeah.
The founding characters have plot points
he? Mm-hmm.
within the story, right? And everybody's
Yeah.
is relatively different, and I wouldn't go so far as to say unique, but everybody has
Got something.
some kind of side quest that they can do to help
Motivate.
we'll motivate, but add a little bit of flair to
Mhm.
the campaign, what the party does. Those, for the most part, they don't necessarily touch the main campaign,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a time mechanic to the Sword of Air. And so time in and of itself is a resource to the players, as you guys know.
Yeah.
I guess the best example would be the orc invasion of Apothalassos.
Yeah, the city has fallen because
The
we
city has
didn't
fallen.
step in at an earlier time.
Exactly. And so there are other repercussions like that woven into the campaign.
Mhm.
And that leads me to my next point, which is if the players are not following your story, there should be in-game logical repercussions to that.
Yeah.
And so this is the example that I usually give at MegaCon, which is the invading orc horde,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the party is tasked with working in this campaign of fighting back orcs that are
Yes.
invading from some far off place, right?
Orc
Well, yeah, but they Orktuga, they're invading from
Orktuga.
Orktuga.
Oh yes, Orktuga. Continue.
And so
aberration in an orange vest.
but they decide, no, you know what, we're not going to fight the orcs. We're going to go investigate, ancient dwarven tunnels on the other side of the continent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all well and good. The party could in some way develop that kind of interest and take that direction and move that way. And you as the dungeon master can guide them kind of repeatedly back over to the orc plot points.
Or have the
But if
orc
they don't-
spilled into their new plan.
Exactly, yeah. If they don't, then the orc horde comes. It comes in and it destroys huge swaths of land, right? And the biggest piece of advice that I can give to another dungeon master is start messing with the economy, because if you devalue a gold piece, the players are going to feel it, right? Like if suddenly
Mess with their money.
Exactly, mess with their money. If suddenly they have 100,000 gold to spend, but literally no shops to spend it at because the orcs have destroyed them all, they have nothing, right?
It's funny that you bring it up because the main reason I made Bernardo Shilly Shally half orc is to push them back into taking back Apothalassos.
Yeah.
Also,
That was where he came from after being pushed out for not being full orc.
my potion master's there too. I gotta save him if he's still there or not.
No, he's not
Yeah.
there.
He's
anymore.
probably not.
If
He
he's
was
there,
retired.
he ain't happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. A good, it's like, okay, well, your choice is to not do what needs to be done is now affecting the world around you in a negative fashion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a consequence. Yeah.
Especially
there are
when you're
consequences.
wanted in every
Time
town you can buy things at.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I mean, we did, because of our actions, I'm not dealing with that sooner, and now we go back and try to clean up, basically, is that we've lost a major trade hub with resources.
Not to mention a teleportation circle.
Which, yeah.
And the closest city to your would-be keep, if you do intend to move into the Howling Fortress.
That's happening. I'm getting that keep.
Yeah, I'm going to take Duncan's flags. That's good prime real estate right there.
But
only if you kill enough people.
But yeah, so there should be some kind of logical repercussion to not following the main story.
Another thing I just thought of, and granted, we're playing in a very large module with a lot of different branching paths, and we got this question made from MegaCon this year, but as a DM, you could also just reduce the side quest options.
You could, yeah.
And just say, well, these are your options, and you more easily tie them in. Now, granted, we have like 7 to 10 things on our docket.
Yeah.
And some are part of the main quest, and some are just character options, or just some, like, it could give you something.
Yeah.
Of course, then again, Dylan did one of the best ways to get me to go after Duncan, which is shiny loot you can't buy.
Yeah, a sword that causes disintegration on crit.
All he had to say was, well, Duncan rides a nightmare. and Ricardo just went, I want that nightmare.
Loot, you say?
That
to shreds, you
How
say.
many weeks did we keep hearing about the nightmare?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, now how can I make that nightmare my nightmare?
Yeah.
To make it my enemy's nightmare.
So there's another thing you can do with that, going back to Duncan.
Yeah.
And in our case, Caden, incentivizing, characters stay to the main story.
No, trust me, I've been trying to get him to do Caden Swine.
Which is, have your plot points retaliate. So, not only are there repercussions for not necessarily following through these things, but, even when the players are away from the table, the system should be alive.
Yeah.
And the system should be acting, more or less.
The world should be reacting and doing what it's doing.
Right. So, like, for me as a dungeon master, in my downtime between work, as I'm waiting on different builds or whatever, my brain's thinking about D&D, and I'm thinking about, like, what would Caden be doing right now? What would Sorten be doing there now? Like, what would the orcs of Apothelastos be doing right now? Right? So, and a lot of that I'm going to take back, and once we discuss about, roughly how much time you guys have spent doing your adventuring, doing your plot points in whichever order you choose. Well, other things are happening as well.
Yes.
So your big bad evil guy isn't just waiting somewhere doing nothing. And I feel like a lot of inexperienced or new dungeon masters, this is one of the biggest mistakes they make, which is they don't have the villains be villains. They have them sit somewhere waiting to be antagonized.
Like in a video game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, like,
Which is funny, because if you were sitting there waiting to be antagonized, essentially you'd fall under the veil of good guy.
Yeah. Or neutral.
Yeah.
I'm just like, a lich hanging out, minding my own business.
I'm just researching the Astral Scene itself, and these guys showed up in my house.
Which, once again, is one of the reasons I absolutely love Ravenloft and Barovia. Yeah. It's like, well, what did Strahd do to start this? He took over the countryside.
Yeah.
But the players go there on their own.
There are undead walking around unchecked killing people. Everybody's sad and impoverished. And there is the Red Castle.
I mean, it's a nice castle. Ravenloft is really nice.
Yeah, it's great, but he's not a passive evil ruler in any way.
Oh yeah, no, he terrorizes that village.
Very actively evil, even if you don't go to Barovia yet.
Yeah.
Does the spoiler alert? Does the 5th edition version of Curse of Strahd still do the tarot reading?
It's an option in the book. You can do it.
Oh, okay.
So
they even have a special deck you can buy.
There's actually there's 3 plot points that you can shuffle and decide where you first meet Strahd, for example, can be anywhere on the map.
Or like where the sun
sword is. Yeah. And I forgot what the 3rd one is, but yeah, you can shuffle up, or you can do it on the fly, however you want to do it, or it's in there.
Yeah. Right.
I believe the 3rd card is actually the location of where he keeps his actual coffin, because he does not keep it in Castle Ravenloft.
That might be it.
So it's sword where you meet Strahd, where Strahd goes after you've dusted him.
Yeah.
Yeah. To properly finish him off.
But either way, as everybody, spoiler alert, you can't kill Strahd.
Yeah.
He is the evil that exists in comparison to good.
It's kind of like a Davy Jones situation for Barovia. He is connected to Barovia.
Wait, I could become the Strahd.
Yeah, basically. But
getting back to
how to keep your DMs on the right question.
Yeah,
keep your
how to
DMs on the
keep
right
us from
question.
side questing. Well, the best way is don't bring up something we like more than what we're doing.
Yeah.
But no.
So, like I was saying, have your bad guys, have your big bad evil guys work against the party.
Mm-hmm.
So a great way to do this is mercenaries.
Yes.
Once he kind of gets a general idea of where the group is going, have him send mercenaries after them. And this is something else. Most evil characters are pretty much via the use of necromancy and some versions of scrying. Like they'll always be able to get some kind of information
Some
about
intel.
the party,
Yeah,
right?
but
So like,
we all know that necromancy is not inherently evil.
correct. Only evil in necromancy is evil.
Yes.
But yeah, so like if the party kills a whole bunch of mercenaries and then like
You get infamy for that.
yeah, but I mean more so continuing on. So the mercenaries are dead. Bad
Mhm.
guy finds out. Bad guy sends, acolyte out to just speak with dead against the mercenaries. Like
Yeah.
how many were there? What weapons did they use? Did they have spellcasters? Like
Very true.
there's low level kind of knowledge that can be gained that way.
There's many tools. The Doom
Yeah.
Vault uses closets that can go
Like,
invisible
I'm
and
still
observe.
under the belief that the big bad evil guy in our campaign is, if not currently now, has at some point interrogated Coltrane.
Oh yeah, your first character. I firmly
Yep.
believe that yes.
And has
Coltrane.
probably at least spoke with dead against Uruglo as well.
Possible.
Possible. We did bring his body to the
But
Mithras Church.
that's the thing, though. Is if his body's still in one piece, he speak
Yes.
with deadable.
But you are right. The DM has those tools
Yeah.
to give your
And I mean
justification
that as
for your
Tom.
bad guys.
I don't mean that as Ricardo. Ricardo would be going, speak with dead. Talk! Talk!
But yeah, so basically having the world
Yeah.
be reacting and thriving and
Yeah.
moving still, not so much like a video game.
Yeah. The save point doesn't turn off the DM's brain.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also spells and things like that are available to big bad evil guys as well, like Nightmare, Finger of Death.
Yes,
There's a lot of
like
things that
that,
just
yeah.
require line of sight, and
Yes.
they work through various forms of scrying. So like they can just Finger of Death you, through a scrying orb. And there's a lot of different things like that as well. Long range spells, they don't necessarily have to be up on you.
Mhm.
They can be hundreds of feet away, teleported in stealthily, drop a
Yeah.
couple fireballs, and then they
Bam,
bamf
right back out, and you're
Exactly.
like, what was that?
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff they can do in order to manipulate.
Let alone the third dimension of being above.
Yep.
Yeah.
To harass the party. Plus, I mean, like bad guys can be greater invisible too.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
I feel like a lot
You've
of
thrown a few of those at us.
yeah, it is an option.
I think the first time was in 3.5, and you're like, what's your flat-footed touch AC? Where I had no armor bonus, no dexterity bonus, no natural armor bonus.
Play a barbarian, then you whine.
I had only deflection and
just
10.
deflection and 10 and insight
and this-
insight
Well, I
bonus
mean-
and like if you have a divine or
I don't
profane
think Corvin
bonus.
had an
Even
insight bonus,
in
but
this campaign, when
Yeah.
we were going through the Howling Fortress the second time,
yeah.
yeah.
going downstairs,
Oh yeah, the one assassin.
there was, we had a greater, at least a regular invisible enemy, but he hit us a couple times without turning visible, so I'd assume greater.
Yeah.
It
there's-
can happen. It
Yep.
can be dealt with just by thinking and using all of your character's abilities.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
Team playing.
And this, of course, goes back to the world thriving and reacting to say, hey guys, if you keep ignoring the main quest,
These things will
these are going to
happen.
get worse.
Yep.
The enemy's going to know more about you. They're going to send more at you, and then you may never get to the main quest.
Yeah. And something else to keep in mind, though, is that you can kind of balance this
Mhm.
based off of party level and how much the bad guy is willing to snoop or meddle for the most part. So it's very unlikely that low-level adventurers have really done anything to be the thorn in the side of the big bad evil guy. So as such, his meddling or their meddling, if there's more than one, probably isn't really going to be that much. Maybe
Might
a
feel
little
like,
bit of
oh, that's
scrying around.
cute, or
Yeah.
I should maybe keep an eye on these guys just in case.
Yeah.
So basically, the size of their level is the size of the ping on your radar.
Yeah, but it's also, I don't necessarily mean it like an evil character will just Finger of Death a level 1 character if they're a threat.
Yeah.
Like
Just snip it in the butt.
At least
snip it
level
in the
1 to
butt.
level 4.
What I mean more about that is like the general, like their generals, lieutenants, plot to like take over this one village being thwarted by like adventurers and a whole bunch of other people. Like he's not just gonna instantly know that like these 5 to 6 characters, like they're player characters and they're the reason for this, right? So like the
indiscriminate
odds,
targeting.
Exactly, like the odds that low-level characters have actually done something significant to foil the plans is relatively low, unless you write that into the story, in which case they're being observed right off the bat.
Like potentially, which we don't know if this has happened or not, but when we took the Howling Fortress, that was a big deal in world, as it was lost, no one could get to it, it was secure, we took it.
Yep.
That definitely, legends at least, myths, and these guys did the impossible.
Well, I mean, even as Ricardo brought up when he wanted to start having his story told or written in the books.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there's plenty of information to put in that book.
Yeah.
But it's like, now, how do you want to die? What? Yeah, usually do this at the end, and the way you piss people off, I want to start right now.
Yeah.
But I agree with what he's saying. It's like, definitely you should have any evil guy, not just the big bad, but all lieutenants, sub-lieutenants. They should be working whether or not your party is questing correctly or not.
Or doing this over here.
And that does increase the chances that every side quest entangles into the big bad evil guy at some point.
Yep.
Oh, well, it's like, this town's getting robbed of all its wealth. We'll go there and save them. It's like, wait, where are all my kickbacks? Where's my slush fund?
So what I'm hearing from you guys is basically...
Meanwhile, he's just a sergeant in the evil military.
Basically, just embrace the side quests.
Honestly...
And...
No.
Bring it in.
No. That's what I said.
Well, I mean, to some extent.
And the other thing
use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I would consider it poor party management to just go behind the scenes and de facto say that, oh, all along, like, these incidents that I'm going to roll up new are now looped back to my like main side or like my main plot points and my main story.
To conspiracy board.
So we're not Marvel Cinematic Universing the D&D game.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that. Like if the party really decides like that's the story, we don't want to do it right now, we want to do something else.
Okay.
Listen to that.
Yeah.
But this doesn't stop moving.
There are consequences for focusing on this instead of that.
I'll find.
Okay, that's fair.
I do find that the number one cause of chaotic, stupid actions is, to be perfectly honest, a gap between communication between player and DM.
Yep.
Where, once again, Uru Glow walks out in front of 3,000 arrows because he assumed that was the only way out.
Yeah.
Because of a breakdown of communication between that player
and the players who had a teleportation
that
scroll.
PM. Who also, oh my god, what were those two guys thinking that night?
Okay, so basically communicate with your players.
Yeah.
And narrate in some sense that, hey, this could, there's consequences.
Yeah, I personally think as much as the player needs to adapt to the DM also needs to adapt to the player.
Yep.
And if he sees that the playing style is a certain way, maybe, I'm not saying change his story, but adjust slightly. And the same way the player, it's like, okay, well this DM does it. For Dylan, I find what I have to do is I have to stop walking into combats like they're combats, and spend the first round at least going, okay, what's the puzzle?
Assess it.
There's always the puzzle. Where's the puzzle? Meaning, his biggest, baddest, evilest guys always have at least one way to be beaten. And it's something that party possesses because he doesn't believe in creating a combat that's completely unwinnable.
Yeah, there's no
so I find most times it's...
What's the Achilles heel?
Where is the poop?
And of course, winning doesn't necessarily mean killing the enemy, but it could be overcoming the challenge.
Yeah.
Whether diplomacy or bribery in some cases, like, I'll give you this really cool sword if you let us walk by.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with you, go ahead.
You may pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something we had touched on a little bit is that illusion of choice, where depending on what part of the story the party wants to go to next, like it all kind of leads back to the same
Fuck
point.
you, you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that contradicts what I said. Where if like the party fully says that like no, we really don't want to do this right now.
Yeah.
We do want to pursue a different choice. Like those are two different things.
But yeah, that's not letting the actual choice.
Actually, I think
dictate
we
the narration.
got this a question that I feel falls under this one at when we did our first Ask a DM panel.
Yeah.
Which was, how do you keep the party from going to go fight the big bad evil guy when they're only level 5 and this guy's a level 20?
And you're throwing out every hint in the world. Don't do this.
And my
You're not ready.
recommendation was
Let them.
Then again, my recommendation was spells and hit points are finite. Put enough
waves.
barriers and waves of barriers. And one thing I did forget to add that I should have, which is without downtime.
Yes.
Because if you go into 3 fights with a level 5 sorcerer, by fight 3, even his cantrips are starting to wear
Lose
out.
their fizz.
Yeah. So that's the thing is, like if you've got a module written up or you've got a module outlined or you're pulling one from a book that is too high level for your party, something that you guys will spoiler alert. Well, maybe not spoiler alert, but like a mechanic that you can use is other adventurers have probably gone into that dungeon.
Yeah.
And there might be lingering spirits of fallen, restless adventurers.
True.
And so something that could happen is you have like the ghost of the paladin who was tasked by his deity to vanquish this evil and failed. And in that moment of failure, he was cursed to walk the plains until such an entity was destroyed. And so now he guards the entrance as some kind of Baelnorn or Eternal Guardian.
Okay.
And he tells them, like, I can tell you right now, you are not prepared for this, because I, by myself, could fuck all of you up, and that guy killed me and my 7 best friends.
And now I will.
Yeah.
But then, as you said, if the party still chooses to walk forward,
let him.
Yeah.
You let it
At
happen.
that point, I agree that there's a certain amount of chaotic stupid.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey guys, I've done everything short of, hold on, pause, timeout, DM to players. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had moments where we're like, we're untouchable, we can do this, and that next
that's
fight,
a 76 to hit.
yeah. So we're gonna go and would you want some food? We're gonna grab some food.
My personal favorite might have been last week's. Screw Hecate. And what's your wisdom?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is something you can do.
Yeah, it's like once again, that is the world adapting to the player. If you have pissed off a certain deity enough times, outwardly saying anything bad
Even
about
inwardly.
that deity,
Well, you
might
will
be
get
a bad
smoted.
time.
Yeah,
so
especially
we
one
fought
that interacts
Vecna,
with
like,
her
3
followers.
times.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
oh yeah, I love my followers. You did so what?
Yeah.
Boop.
It's like, screw Vecna. Where'd this hand come from?
Yeah. Going back to
Yeah.
letting them
Yeah.
go
let
through the
them.
module, go through the fight. I would add that if you're feeling nice, pull your punches. Maybe give them the option to fall back and retreat and like let them learn that like they're not ready for this. If you've been warning them several times and they're an experienced party and they're not doing the in-game research and their own assessments to actually figure out if this is something that's feasible, don't pull your punches, force the TPK. Like, there needs to be repercussions for negative strategic gaming in Dungeons & Dragons.
Granted, the final point off of this, I think you were talking about this the other day, where let the battle happen, and let's say the TPK happens, and then all of a sudden days earlier, and the party wakes up, they just had a complete premonition of what was about to happen if they continued forward.
That was not me.
That must have been with Steve then.
Yeah. I don't believe in the waking up next to a rotting deer carcass type of DMing.
But still, I think that's another way to say, look, this, while is the main quest, you're not.
Yeah.
You gotta take a few more steps to be for that.
I would do that as a one shot. Like if you were down a few people for a week and you wanted to foreshadow.
Here's what would happen if you
put them
tried
into the
tonight.
fight.
Yeah. So like we have a party of
D&D
7
what?
players.
We have 7 players.
8.5 characters.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say.
Hey,
two
Gaz
people...
counts as a full player.
Well, I was talking about after, but like,
I know.
let's say we were
Still
missing.
gets full XP.
Let's say we were missing
Still
two
gets full
characters,
loot.
or 2 players, and so we were down 2 characters, and
Yep.
we were in like a plot critical moment.
Yeah,
Right,
kind of
you
hard
could, you
not
could
to
do a
say.
foreshadowing dream.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But I would feel that would be the appropriate place to do that. I don't think that the party making the conscious decision to go into the dungeon and then retconning it as a dream afterwards is a good idea. I think you did have the idea though of the next party is tasked to
Yes.
recover the remains
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the,
of the first party.
Yes, that was my
Yeah.
idea, which is if your party TPKs, your next party is the party sent to go back and check on
Find
what
out.
happened to the original killed party and maybe true res.
Yeah, maybe.
And then if those guys die, the next party until
Yeah.
you are 15 parties in going, why are we even doing this?
Yeah.
Because nobody remembers.
But I think that is a good option because adventurers guilds,
Yeah.
in most I think RPG settings would have some similar mechanic where like they have a contract. That contract is to go clear out this dungeon,
Yeah.
and the first 3 parties haven't done it, so they're not necessarily being tasked with clearing it out as much as they are being tasked with like a recon mission. Like
Yeah,
just
find
go
out
in
why
and
are
like,
they dropping.
yeah, like
Yeah.
figure out like what's happening so we can like fix the problem and fulfill the contract. Like I think that is a valid option.
Yeah, well, I mean, at that point, though, to me, you're kind of just hitting that, what campaign are you guys running? Edge of Tomorrow?
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Where it's like, the TPK tends to lose some of its effectiveness if 5 minutes later you're rolling up a new character.
Yeah.
Now, I agree that it's like, if it's a unjust and or I was just rolling crits like a madman that night and killed my whole party, because I don't roll behind a screen, I let you guys see it all hang
Yeah,
out.
whatever it is, whatever it is.
Yeah. So, if I killed you all, I apologize.
Yep.
I'll give you one chance to come back. After that point, you really need to check on your character
Yeah.
and adjust what let you die so it doesn't happen again.
Assess
Yeah.
why this keeps happening.
But I covered that in an entirely different panel that lasted all of 18 minutes.
Yeah. But
Another option. Well, I guess for actually that now we're like delving into character death.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
it's a
no,
whole
now,
other
I
topics.
think now we've
Yeah.
covered.
I think
it's
we
like,
should just
okay, sometimes you can kill them, sometimes you can adjust the story. It depends on if you want to be malevolent, benevolent, or benevolent who's actually malevolent.
yeah.
But
Otherwise,
there's no such thing as malevolent that's actually benevolent.
Yeah.
there's only so much you can do to keep them on task, basically.
Yeah.
I think those are all valid points, and a few connecting tangents that actually brought up other good points, and definitely another good episode, good answer.
All right.
Excellent
If
job.
you like this content, be sure to check out our campaign. We're running the Sword of Air, Pathfinder First Edition system.
As well as some other one shots popping
Yeah,
up.
as well
Oh,
as some other one
And
shots.
please check out our other Ask a DM videos as well.
Yep, check out our other Ask a DM videos.
Mhm.
We make this content with the permission from Frog God Games. Be sure to check out froggodgames.com to get all of their content. They have a great special going on. If you buy a physical hard copy book, you also get the PDF going for free. I don't know if they're going to do that forever, but what they do right now is you buy a physical book or physical books, you also get the PDF copy. I really like that
I did too.
because it gives me the option to print out player resources rather than having to actually go in and scan the book that I've, ordered out.
Yeah.
I agree.
Excellent.
All right.
All right.
Until next time.
Until next time, guys.